Welcome into my InvestEngine portfolio update now for the month of July, where I share everything that I invest into my InvestEngine stocks and shares ISA, and also just a quick overview of what's been going on in the stock market over the past month. Just from a US perspective, you can see that the stock market has been hitting new all-time highs. We can have a look here at the S&P 500 chart, recovering massively from those lows that were set back in April after all the shocks around the tariffs. Now the market is recovered to all-time highs. Who knows where we're going to finish the year, just being halfway through. Truly, anything can happen. Close to home, I will share the FTSE 100 chart here, but it's not something that I pay too much attention to because there's so many international companies on the FTSE 100 that doesn't really reflect the UK economy much at all. Now, in other news, I would say the war rhetoric has calmed down, so that's kind of helped the stock market move forward, and some fairly strong earnings too. The US market is going through a bit of an IPO boom at the moment. Not something we're experiencing here in the UK. So lots of capital, lots of money is flowing back into the stock market. I think it's fair to say that a lot of people are feeling quite euphoric. So whether that's a bad sign for what's ahead potentially, who knows? But that's where we are at the moment. US jobs data came in a little bit weak, so there were a few vacancies more than were expected. This potentially signals that maybe the US Federal Reserve needs to cut those interest rates, sooner than expected. You have Donald Trump again calling for the resignation or removal of the Fed chair, Jerome Powell, which just seems like another week over in the US. And finally, an interesting thing I saw this week was the US brokerage company Robinhood releasing and talking about tokenization of stocks effectively, which potentially gives access to private companies who are not on the stock market. So, for example, being able to buy shares in the likes of SpaceX and XAI. They had a big press conference over in Cannes, I think it was, and they were going through all the things about how this works and how this is actually going to function. Their stock has done incredibly well over the past few years and has quite a U-shaped recovery. What this should mean in theory is more and more people getting access to stock markets around the world. Not everyone has really easy access to stock markets all around the world, so doing this potentially democratizes the way people buy and sell stocks, and also means that they can trade them pretty much 24/7 as well. So whether that's a good or a bad thing, time will tell. But it's certainly an interesting time trying to get more people involved in investing, because whether we like it or not, actually in the UK and lots of other parts of the world, very few people actually invest at all, and very few people take any interest in the stock market. And it's really America leading the way. I'll try and put up a bit of a graphic on screen with some of the latest information, but lots of countries lag behind actually any interest at all owning directly any kinds of investments. Anyway, all of that to one side, let's go through the portfolio now, and I'll show you everything that I invest in every single month into my stocks and shares ISA here on InvestEngine, which is just one of my many investing accounts. And also, I'll just go through a couple of lessons which I thought were going to be worth highlighting. So you can see I have a balance here of just over £59,000 inside my total account. That's made up mostly from the stocks and shares ISA, which is here in Toby's world, £54,905 worth. But I do also have a small self-invested personal pension here, a value of £4,098. It's amazing how quick that one popped up. I'm not contributing into this pension at the moment. I do that over on my Vanguard account, but it's amazing how quick that account filled up. Now, let's just go into the account now and just see how things are performing. I'm just going to go through the last month and just see here that we can see that the market is hitting new all-time highs, at least in this account. And it's not just because of the money that's been put in. You can see here these black dots of when I contribute money. I just have things set up automatically. So every single month, £1,000 goes into my stocks and shares ISA. You can see I just do this at the start of every single month. And you can go back over 6 months, a year, and then pull out on this max chart as well, which is always really interesting when you look at investing over the long term, because you see more of those effects of compounding and actually trying to get some money back on your investments. Just while I've got you here on this 1 year screen, I think it's an interesting one. Back just a few months ago, which seems like a lifetime ago already, you can see here back in April when we had all of the shocks around the tariff fears, and you can see that the buy I made there literally was at the bottom of the market. But not only that, I thought it was interesting that the returns on the investment were basically zero at that point. It made all of the other investments go to no return at all. And I can see how a lot of people got spooked out of investing and thought, wow, all of the contributions that I put into this account, what a waste. But actually since then, you can see it's gone on to make new all-time highs, regardless of the amount that's been going back into the account and all of my contributions. Now, I think there's two lessons really important there. First thing is really sticking long term. And no matter what anyone says, it's very easy to sell out of the market at any one time and focus on bad news. I invest regardless, and you can see this over the max chart here. So I think there's so many people that will react to short-term news, but as a long-term investor, like maybe lots of you out there hopefully will be, we don't need to be interested in all the different short-term news and short-term events. Only traders and people who are interested in that really need to be invested into that and worried about that. Long-term investors, our superpower, I believe, is being able to ignore all this and just focus on what matters most. Two things, in my opinion: using the right account, so using the likes of a stocks and shares ISA, and just focusing on that regular investing over that long time span, because most people can't do that, won't do that, and get sucked in to all of the day-to-day nonsense. Now, if you also want to get yourself started with InvestEngine and open up a stocks and shares ISA, a self-invested personal pension, or even a business investing account, I do leave links in the description below. If you sign up, deposit at least £100, you will get a bonus of up to £100. Other terms and conditions apply. And also you could use the code Toby in the promo code section of the app. Once you've signed up, if you go to the account and the profile information section, there should be a little section there that you can add a promo code in. Just put in TOBY, press enter, and you should get your bonus. Fingers crossed, good luck for you. Now, if you're a new viewer, you might think, okay, well, what are you actually invested in? What investments do you choose? Let me just show you what's inside Toby's world. Now, this is also a shared account, so I do put this in the description. You're very welcome to have a look and find what's right for you. Just remember, I'm not your financial advisor, and I am not a financial advisor. So please do your own research and just find investments that work for you. I've broken up the world basically into 5 different ETFs. So I basically get exposure to most of the world. It's not perfect by any means. And I've chosen percentages that roughly align to what a global index fund does. Now, I could quite happily have just a single index fund and be done with trying to manage an investment like this. But I find it interesting. I find it quite simple. And also, it's a very low cost way to invest as well. And you can see here all of the different parts of the investment and how they've performed. You can see, no surprise really, that the S&P 500, which represents my US portion of the investment, has done pretty well here at plus 41% since I've owned that. Other parts of the world have done okay. Developed Europe, this second fund here, has done pretty well. The emerging markets done okay. UK's done pretty well, but Japan has definitely been the laggard here, but it does make up only a fraction of the investments in this portfolio. Now, just going back to the US for a moment, I have made a video about this, so you might want to go back and watch it. My last video, just talking about the fact that if you look at the chart for the S&P 500 from a pound perspective that we're looking at now, it's not actually at all-time highs. That's because the pound has strengthened against the dollar. So although in dollar terms, the S&P 500 is reaching all new time highs at the moment, your account specifically isn't if you're investing into the US market. Personally, as a long-term investor and someone who's buying that market, I see this as a big benefit because effectively we're buying the same companies that they are in the US for a discount at the moment because the pound is strong. I always imagine it like you're going on holiday. If you're going on holiday somewhere and you've got a strong currency, and it's a weaker currency you're going to get more for your money, so things become cheaper. So effectively, that's the way I see things from the US market perspective. As the pound weakens potentially, then these things will catch up. But it is interesting at the moment to have a look at the chart of the S&P 500 and have a look in your accounts, and you might be thinking, well, why isn't it the same? Why isn't it more expensive? And why aren't we reaching new all-time highs they are in the States? And it's all to do with exchange rates. Now, I've done a video on that, so just go back and watch that. Gone into a little bit more detail on that one, but I do think that's a really interesting one to point out at the moment. So there you have it, quite the roller coaster that we've got so far in 2025. Where things will be toward the end of the year, I have no idea, but I'll keep updating you every single month to show you exactly where I put my money. Ultimately, I put my money where my mouth is, and I like to show everyone exactly the process that a long-term investor wants to go through. Ideally, I'd love to do this for 5, 10, 20, 30 years, fingers crossed. I can show you exactly how someone invests and we can all go on the same journey together. Anyway, as always, please do let me know how you're getting on in the comment section below, any questions you have, and I'll see you in the next video. Happy investing.